Hey, this is Rob from JTRpodcast.com, and this is Ash's Rise of the Phoenixborn. This is a game that's been top of my want to play list for a long time. It's also been top of my want to buy list for a long time. It's up there with Crokinole, which is a game I may never own, but I got this one. I got it in the Bring and Buy at UK Games Expo for a decent price, and it's all in great condition, so that's all good, and I finally got to play it, and I'm very happy. So in this game, it's one of those games where you build a deck and then you fight other players, so everybody gets a Phoenixborn. I've got Saria Guideman here, and she's looking very magical and pink and stuff. You have a deck of cards, you have these conjurations, which I'll explain later, and you have a pool of dice. And how the game works is very simple. You're basically going to attack your opponent by playing spells and playing these conjurations and things, and you're going to attack your opponent and try and get their life total down to 0. And this is basically how the game is set up. Each player is going to have this kind of area with the deck, the conjurations, their Phoenixborn and their dice. And there's going to be a room here. This is going to be your spell board where you're going to play spells. And across here is going to be your battlefield where you'll play creatures. Or allies and conjurations as they're called in this game. I'm going to use a lot of magic terminology by accident in this, so I do apologise. You start the game with a hand of 5 cards and you're ready to go. So on your turn you must take one main action and then you may take one side action, and that's it. There's just the 2 actions, and there's some free stuff you can do as well, so you can do that as often as you like. There are 4 main actions, so I'll talk about those now. The first of the actions is to play a main action cost, and you can see this symbol here appears on the cards. It's very tiny. You get them on different cards, such as this 3-eyed owl uses a main action here. You also have some spells with their cost is a main action, so to play this would be a main action by using that symbol there. So when you're casting a spell with a main action, it's quite simple. You just pay the cost. In this case, it's just a main action, so it goes into your spell board for free. You don't have to pay anything else. But if you, for example, tried to play this Rose Fire Dancer, you can see there is the main action symbol as well as these 2 other symbols, and they're the dice that you need to spend from your pool. So in order to put her into your battlefield, you would need to spend the right dice. So in this case it would be this one and this one, because they are matching symbols. It doesn't matter about the colours as long as the symbols match. So you would spend these from your reserve, I think it's called, to your exhausted pile, and then she would get to go into your battlefield. There is a limit to the number of things you can have in your battlefield and your spell board, and that's determined by your Phoenixborn. So for a case of Saria, her battlefield is 5 wide and her spell board is 4 wide. But if you have spells of the same type, you can stack them on top of each other. So say I play this abundance spell using this dice, 1 turn. Next time I play one, I can put it on top like this. So it only takes up 1 slot in the spell book. So again, I'd need to pay the dice. But as a further action, I could play that there. So when you play an additional spell into your spell board like this and stack it on top, it's called focusing. You focus that spell. And as you can see, some of them have an extra ability. So this has focus 1. So if I had these 2 in there, I would get this focus 1 ability on top of its regular ability. And then of course if I put a 3rd copy on there, because you can have 3 copies of each spell in your deck, try and straighten those out a bit, yep, I'll get the focus 2 ability. So it's kind of, not only does it save space in your spell book, but it also can make some spells better. Some spells require the use of a main action to activate, such as this Summon 3-eyed owl, which lets you summon these 3-eyed owl cards into your play area. So you would pay the cost, which is 1 heart. And then this next symbol here is basically this token, which is an exhaust token, which means you can only use it once. You can't use a spell that's got an exhaust token on it. So as well as paying the dice, I'd have to put the exhaust token on, and then I could put the 3-eyed owl into my battlefield. The other 3 main actions you have are to attack. You can attack the opponent's Phoenixborn. You can attack an opponent's ally. I'll get to that in a bit. I'll do combat separately. And then the other action you can do is pass. So if you don't want to do anything else, you have to pass. You're back in the game when it comes back round to your turn, but if everybody passes in order, then the round will end. There are 3 side actions you can take, and these are the ones you can, again, you can only do once per turn. They have this symbol on, and there's one there on this Phoenixborn as well. There's also one on your dice ability. So each dice, the different coloured dice, have these cards that come with them, and these both have their dice power ability. So you can see here that says that's the side action symbol, and I'd pay this dice to do this ability, and the same for this dice as well. So even the dice you put in your deck are going to add some variation to what you can do. And the final side action is to meditate, so you discard cards from your hand or from the top of your deck or for any spells in place. So say I wanted to activate this wolf ability here, which requires this wolf dice, I could, if I'm able, discard a card from a place. So maybe I'll discard this card from my ready area to change the side of a dice to the one that I want, which is that wolf dice. So I can put that into there. And then next turn I'll be able to use the ability on the illusion magic dice. So that's most of the stuff you can do. Let's have a look at combat. So just like the rest of the game, combat is very simple. There's two things you can do. You can either attack the Phoenixborn or you can attack another player's ally. So I've picked this Jessie Nani as the other Phoenixborn. She comes with a Leech Warrior in play. So let's just say I'm going to attack the Phoenixborn, and I've got these two here. You can only attack with unexhausted units. So if this three-eyed owl was exhausted, I wouldn't be able to attack with it. Then after you choose your attackers, I'm going to say both. Then you choose your target, I'm going to say the Phoenixborn, and then the opponent can declare blockers. For each attacking unit, you could choose one blocker. In this case, they've only got one, so they're going to choose to block the Rose Fire Dancer, and they'll do that by pushing it forward, so it's clear which one they are blocking. So now you resolve damage, and you start with any that are unblocked, because it's easier. So the three-eyed owl is unblocked, they have an attack of 1, so they will become exhausted because they've dealt damage. And they deal 1 damage to the Phoenixborn. Just so you know, this is the Phoenixborn life, so Sari has 20 and Jessie has 18. Now with the units that are blocking, things get a bit different. I haven't seen this in any other game before. So now the defender has blocked this unit, the defender can choose to counter. If they choose not to counter, then the attacking unit will deal the damage. So the Rosefire Dancer will become exhausted. They've got an attack of 3, the Leech Warrior has a life of 3, so the Leech Warrior would die and be removed from the game. However, if they do decide to counter, then they deal damage to each other and both become exhausted. So the Rosefire Dancer will get an exhaustion token, as would the Leech Warrior. The Rosefire Dancer deals 3 damage to the Leech Warrior and kills it, and the Leech Warrior deals 2 attack to the Rosefire Dancer, who has 1 life, and kills it as well, so both of those would be discarded. And combat is very similar if you're attacking a unit rather than attacking a Phoenixborn. You choose which of your units are going to attack and push them forward so they stand out from the rest, and then you choose the target. In this case, Leech Warrior is the only one to attack. At this point, the player can now choose whether to put their Phoenixborn in front of the Leech Warrior and take the damage instead. But if they don't decide to guard with the Phoenixborn, then combat's exactly the same as it was before, except that you can choose to counter again. So basically you could either have it that both of these will have dealt their combined 4 damage to this Leech Warrior's 3 life and killed it, or if they decide to counter, then the Leech Warrior would get an exhaustion token. They would deal the 4 damage to the Leech Warrior. The Leech Warrior would have 2 attack to deal to these units any way they like. So because the Leech Warrior's got 2 attack, it could choose to play 1 damage on the Rosefire Dancer and kill her, and then just deal 1 damage to the Three-Eyed Owl, giving it 1 life left. Or if it wants to, it can deal both damage to the Three-Eyed Owl, killing that one instead. Once all players have passed in order, the round will end. You have a recovery phase. In the recovery phase, the creatures themselves will recover, and you can remove any number of wound tokens from each unit in play up to that unit's recover value. So this Leech Warrior has a recover of 3, so you'd be able to remove 3 wounds from it. These both have 0, so they wouldn't be able to remove any wounds at all. You remove 1 exhaustion token from every card in play, so some may have more than 1 exhaustion token on, so they can't do anything the next round, but now all these are available to attack and defend again and use their abilities if they like. You can move any number of dice from your active pool to your exhausted pool, and then you pass the first player token to the left. And then you do a little upkeep that you do at the beginning of the round, where you roll all your exhausted dice and add them into your active pool. You can discard any number of cards from your hand and draw back up to 5. The important thing here is if your deck ever runs out, for every card that you need to draw and you can't, your Phoenixborn will take 1 damage. So as much as you might want to cycle through your deck as quickly as possible, you are going to take damage if you do that. And that's the game. Just try and be the last Phoenixborn standing. Let's go to the positives and the negatives. So the first positive is probably the most obvious one. It's the artwork is fantastic. I love all this, all these creatures, all the planeswalkers. See, I told you I was using magic terminology. All the Phoenixborn are there. It just looks fantastic. All the cards are great. I mean, these are just from one person's cards. This is the Enchanted Violinist, the Seal, which looks really cool. Fire Rose Dancer we saw earlier. Another Enchanted Violinist. I don't know why I picked her up, but yeah, that's It's all really, really nice. All the decks are super cool. Another positive is what comes in the box, because you're getting 3 of every card, which means you don't need to buy 3 sets of the base box to have 1 of everything, because usually you can have 3 of every card in your deck, and a lot of these games, particularly the Fantasy Flight ones, they give you 1 or 2 copies. So in order to get a full play set of 3, you need to buy 3 copies of the base game. But they don't do that in this. They give you 3 copies of everything straight off the bat. Another positive is the deck construction, the way you build a deck. So it's got all the rules here and how to do the deck building. It shows you choose your Phoenixborn, choose 30 cards, you can't have more than 3 of any card. It shows you how you can build your dice pool. So you could have 10 dice, you could use all 4 colours of dice if you want. And then you've got some other stuff there that you need to know. There's also rules in the rule book for, gone too far, for drafting, which would be very cool. But for me, what I like about it is this, the pre-built deck suggestions, and it's got all 6 Planewalkers. It tells you who they are, which coloured dice they use, what cards are in the deck, what conjurations you use. It also, if you could see that some of these are bold, there's 5 bold for each character. This is their suggested starting hand. So if you were using the Bloodwood's Queen, Jessa Nani, then you would take a Fear, a Blood Transfer, Summon a Blood Puppet, Living Doll and Leech Warrior into your hand. And that's what you'd use to start the game, and I really, really like this. It's really super cool because of how the game came. Now, I bought this second hand, so all the decks were sleeved and came nicely bagged all together with all the cards you need to play them. So they all came, you know, just ready to play. So you've got 6 decks there. I've only played this once, and I've only played with Jessa myself. But we played a 4-player game and everybody felt different, which is the next positive. You've got 6 decks in that main box. There's another, I want to say 6 or 7 available as an expansions, and all the 4 that we played with all felt different. They all had their own bonuses. I was kind of making people discard cards from the deck, hopefully trying to run the deck out and deal damage that way. Somebody else was playing somebody who was smashing us with these massive creatures, these big conjurations. Someone was playing as Jessa and was being really annoying because they have these sort of creatures that you put in your play area, and you have to use your side actions to deal them damage because they're a negative effect on you. And while they're in your play area, they're giving you a bad thing. So you need to send a side action on that character in order to deal it a damage just to kill your own creature. And, you know, that was really frustrating. But that's how the game should be. It should be like that. It should be different, and different people doing different effects, different Phoenixborn having these different ways to win. And this takes me to the first negative. It is quite slow. I know there was 4 of us who were playing for the first time, so we're getting used to the cards, getting used to the deck. But even then, on your turn, you've got 2 actions. You're basically taking a main action and a side action. If you've got a side action, you didn't always have one. So this is epic. So say I've got a Hill Giant in play on my turn. Maybe I play a Raging T-Rex, and then maybe I play a Lightning Strike to deal 5 damage to another opponent's creature. Then maybe I'll play this Rage to make this Hill Giant bigger, and then I attack with the Hill Giant, and then I play a Flame Spike to deal another 2 damage to my opponent, and then I play this Cave Troll into play, and I could do all that in one turn. You can't do that in this because you've just got the 2 actions, and it just feels very restrictive. And it's not just Epic, because Epic is a bit of a faster game anyway. Even Magic, and this is what Magic cards used to look like, kids. Even Magic, on your first turn you play Forest, maybe the second turn you play Plains, and then you can play a Muscle Sliver, and then maybe you play a Harrow to get 2 more lands into play, and then you've got 5 lands, and then on your 3rd turn, 4th turn, you're play a Crystalline Sliver, and then you use Dark Banishment to kill another creature, and you're kind of cycling up as you get more lands in play. I mean, you're going to run out of cards, but in both games, in Epic and Magic the Gathering, you've got a way of drawing cards, or you can put ways to draw cards into your deck so that you play these faster games and the games kind of speed up. But with this, it doesn't do that. It just, you know, you've got 2 actions and that's all you've got. So in summary, this is a beautiful looking, very nice combat game. It's a bit slower than the normal ones. I think it'll have a wider appeal than the games like Epic and Magic the Gathering. But it is beautiful, it is very nice, it's very tactical. I'm looking forward to trying all the different Phoenixborn, and then maybe if I still like it after 6 or 7 plays, maybe picking up some expansions and trying those out. So that's Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. Remember to like this video if you find it useful, share it to let other people know about it, and subscribe to the channel for more board game related content. You can follow me on Twitter at JTR Podcast and find the blog and podcast at jtrpodcast.com. I've been Rob, aka Jester the Rogue, and I'll see you soon.